and today I'm here to review the new book, The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharpe. So this book came out last month, which is basically 2 months ago because it's about to be March, I keep forgetting. I've never read anything by her before, but I have heard of her novels before. This one I was instantly drawn in by the cover. It's just so gorgeous and like just really, I feel like, draws you in and is like, you need to read this book. So when I got to the description, I will say that by the time I first read the description and then actually getting the book, I had got the synopsis a little mixed up in my head. So the actual synopsis is about this girl Nora who goes into a bank with her ex-boyfriend, who's also her best friend, and her new girlfriend, who the ex-boyfriend just found out about the new girlfriend and her by walking in on them, and is kind of, you know, mad that he didn't know because it's also his friend, the new girlfriend, and it's just a whole big awkwardness. And you think they're gonna handle that and just have to worry about that when the bank actually ends up getting robbed and they get taken hostages in a bank robbery gone wrong. So that's the actual synopsis, like I said. In my head, in between the time that I had read and actually got to the book, I thought they were the ones robbing the bank, and I thought that was gonna make like the whole awkwardness more bad because like they had to rob the bank and then they would just be fighting about how they had found out this secret. And like, I think someone should write that book because that sounds like it would be hysterical. But this one is that they are held hostage in the bank robbery. They don't actually plan the bank robbery. So imagine my surprise when I get to that part, because it's like the first chapter. Someone walks in and I'm like, oh, they're not robbing this bank, it's someone else. So the big thing though with this bank robbery is that Nora is not just a normal girl. She is in hiding with her older sister because her mother is a con woman and basically raised her since she was a kid to kind of just disappear into any role and con people along with her mother. They do sweetheart scams. So where her mom will find like these wealthy guys who have some shady business going on, and she will get into their lives, get married, steal their money, and Nora's job as her daughter was kind of always to just play whatever role she needed and do whatever the mom kind of asked of her, because that was how she would get her mother's approval, was by doing these tasks. There is a bunch of like different plot lines going on in this novel, which I thought was really cool because actually I hadn't read, like I've read obviously stories where like it's happening in the present and then like there are flashbacks to the past, but this one was like multiple flashbacks to the past. So there's obviously the bank robbery going on is one like timeline. Then she's flashing back to like growing up with her mom and like the different heists they pulled and stuff like that. And then there's also one in particular that happened with her, like the last person that her mom actually fell for and got married, who was like a super bad dude, and she got away and like freed herself, and that was the one that she decided to get away from. And there's a whole reasoning behind that, so there's also that timeline of figuring out what exactly happened there, how she got away, and how she ended up in this little town with her sister. So I like that because I feel like it worked very well, of like you could see the people she had been and like the stuff she had been through, how it was affecting how she had behaved in the bank robbery and how she was able to kind of con and finagle the bank robbers and figure out like what made them tick, like what was the best way to get them to, you know, be on her side and stuff like that. Like I felt like that was really interesting because it shows you just how much, even though like she played different characters, obviously, like that was the whole thing of like when she's conning with her mom, like she's not herself. You see how like all these different girls she's been have built up into like a person she is now. So it's kind of like saying like she wasn't particularly any of these girls because they were obviously all characters and charades, but she took a little part of them, of something she learned from each of them, and that in turn all together became who she really is. So it's super interesting and super cool, and like I said, I loved the flashbacks and stuff because it was just like not even told, like those parts weren't even told sequentially. Like it would be divided into acts, and like you might get act 3 before you get act 2. So then it's like her just like talking about how she's like walking downtown covered in blood trying to find like a payphone, and you're like, what the heck happened? And it's not till 50 pages later that they go back to act 2 and explain what happened. and it's just so interesting. It's actually getting turned into a movie on Netflix with Millie Bobby Brown starring as Nora, and I think that's going to be so interesting. I really, really loved Enola Holmes on Netflix. I know that wasn't originally made for Netflix, but I think it shows that Millie Bobby Brown, I almost called her Millie, like I'm on a first name basis with her. I wish. No, it shows that like she can really carry a movie and work with some very seasoned actors, as we saw in that movie, and hold her own. So I think it makes me excited for this one, because I do think this like it screams to be developed into a movie. It's got like the action of the bank and all that, and then also like the previous cons that her mom pulled. It's got a lot of heart with the whole dynamic between her friend and her girlfriend, because even though she was dating Wes and they broke up because he found out about like who she really was and stuff like that, they're still really good friends and like practically family, they said, because of just their shared bonds and what they have both been through. So that's an interesting dynamic, and I like that originally like there was like that whole like he's never jealous, you know, it's more he's mad because he's friends with Iris and he's friends with Nora, obviously, so he feels kind of hurt that neither of them decided to tell them, even though he's really good friends with both of them. And they get over that very quickly when the bank robbery happens, which I very much appreciate, because I was like, if we're gonna start throwing this in each other's faces when we're literally in a bank robbery, like I'm gonna have issues, because they make it very clear from the start. He's like, yeah, I'm mad. I get that, like, this is why I was mad. Like, you guys do you. We got bigger issues right now. And I appreciated that. And one thing I also really liked is I feel like with books like these, where, like, from the start they tell you that, like, this girl, this main character, has, like, a very special skill set and she's super smart and she can, like, outsmart the people that are working against her. Like, I feel like you read or you see so many of those kind of stories, and then the girl is, like, not like she's not as smart, or she gets caught a lot, or like it's just very clear that like it doesn't work. Like I felt like I read like that one earlier. I don't want to name its name, but one of the first ones I read this year was supposed to be like that, and then the girl got caught like 50 times and like wasn't figuring out like the obvious clues on the wall, and I'm like, hello girl. So with this one I actually like that Nora was very smart and very capable, and really even when like she maybe didn't have the upper hand in a situation, you never felt like she couldn't get it. Like she always fought, she always was assessing the situation and moving, and you did feel like you believe that she really is that smart and that capable, that like she's out thinking these people 50 ways to none, you know? Like I think seeing how she dismantled them and figured out like what they want, and there's one thing in particular that she does very quickly in getting them to release a hostage that is very impressive, and like the way she does it is super impressive. And I feel like that's when you're like, oh, okay, this girl actually had, like, she's not just talking out of her butt, like she actually is very, very smart and capable. And you also find out that her friends, like through their life skills, are very capable as well. So I like that they had this whole kind of dynamic going of like they knew that like Nora was obviously the best inclined to get them out of the situation, Wes and Iris, but like they had their own skills that they were like, you know what, let's try it our way, or like let's help you in this situation. And I really like that, because I felt like it could have easily been like, okay, this girl is like constantly getting caught, like they're constantly catching on her, she's not really actually getting anything done. So to see all the stuff that she was able to get done was like a breath of fresh air, because I'm so used to reading books like that where again like the girl is just like, I'm so smart, blah blah, and then like no, she misses like the obvious sign. She like gets caught in her plans a lot, and I was full on expecting, I think just because I'm so used to disappointment with that happening, and it did not at all. So that's why I'm super, super pumped to see the adaptation of it. I think right now they only have Millie cast, and maybe, I think there was one other guy. Who's that guy from Arrested Development that played the fox in Zootopia? He, I think, is probably going to be her stepdad that she ended up getting away from. I didn't see like confirmation of that because I didn't click on the article, but like I think that could be who he played. I will be interested to know who they cast as her mom and her sister. I think those are some really, and also Iris and Wes, but I feel like Iris and Wes are probably going to be maybe some lesser known actors, but I feel like the mom is going to be probably like really well known or something like that. So I'm just really excited. It's such a good book, guys. Like the cover, I don't know if I should say the story justifies the cover. I think I should say the cover justifies the story, because it's like that good of a story deserved a really good cover, and it got it. And I just feel like the whole idea of like, you know, Nora kind of throughout this book is like, who am I? You know, like I've played different girls throughout all my life, and I don't really know who I am, or like if she does do something, she's like, is this me, or is this me falling back on like the girl I played when I was 8? And I think what she realizes throughout that's really cool is that, like I said, each girl is a piece of her, you know, because I think that's the best actors bring a piece of them to themselves, to like their characters, or take away a piece. And I think that's what she has to realize, that like because she was so good at this, not because her mom taught her and she grew up in this life, she's so good at this because like she was born with these innate skills and she was able to disappear but also not lose herself. And that's what she kind of has to realize, is that like she's each of these girls, like they all taught her something, she learned a lesson from them, and she brought a part of them forward, and that's how she takes down the robbers who don't know what's about to hit them. So I really, really love this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you're interested in reading it, I highly recommend you check it out. Like, could not recommend it more. I loved it. So if you've read it or interested in reading it, leave a comment about it down below in the comments. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!